Each of us is on our own unique journey on the content creation highway, finding our way around an endless sea of possibilities using the World Wide Web. But when it comes to writing, at the core of every digital project, in my humble opinion, there's something in the back of my head. And today I want to share this impactful topic with you for whatever you write. It doesn't matter whether you're creating content for podcasts or video scripts, whether you do web copy or marketing materials, or even for your articles. I particularly like applying this analysis to instructional design, or it's great for onboarding and corporate learning. Actually, there are a lot of real world case studies using this theory. What I'm talking about is Kai Chou's Octalysis Principle, which proposes that there are 8 core drives that influence human behavior and motivation. He says that without tickling one of these 8 areas that motivate a person to take action, then they won't. Hey guys, it's Sue Ann. I'm so happy to invite you to my new membership community called Inside the Marketing Mirror. Let's go a little deeper into digital. Let's learn and grow together. Let's, for the price of a cup of coffee a month, jump into this private studio for exclusive content, deeper dive learning, and surprise events. So come on in, my friends and colleagues, through my new Buy Me a Coffee membership. And whether you make the events or not live as a member, all the content will be available exclusively to you in the studio library. I can't wait to see you. Hello and welcome. I'm Sue Ann. Thanks for being here. I'm with Right Mixer Business, and you're watching or listening to The Marketing Mirror. Today, I want to take you on a little exploration that I find to be of utmost importance. And it's based on learning about Kai Chou's Octalysis Principle, which proposes that there are 8 core drives that influence human behavior and motivation. And what first attracted me to Kai's Octalysis framework is how it can be applied to design engaging experiences, products, services, or even for instructional design and corporate training, onboarding, and those sort of things. So Kai is a gamification expert. He's a human behavioral design expert, and he believes that the design process should optimize the human over the system. So pure efficiency of the system isn't the whole story without the human part being optimized. And that's why he looks at so carefully at human behavioral psychology in this principle. So I can't wait to tell you more about Kai Chou and the Octalysis framework, Octalysis principle, or Octalysis theory, it's sometimes called. And there are 8 core drives in that theory. So I wanted to make learning more fun, more engaging, more inviting, more exhilarating, and more importantly, I wanted to find a model to allow learners to participate fully and be excited about each learning, and to want to participate and to complete the courses, because we have such a low course completion rate online that it was important to me to figure out how can I make human-centered design in instructional learning models that will really captivate people to participate and engage, and really to grow them on that end. But no matter how you approach it, if you want people to buy into and participate and be part of what you're creating, human behavioral design is something that you might want to consider. And this analysis, as Kai puts it together, makes it really a great way to keep these things in the back of your mind. I'll give you a quote from Yukai to start you off, to get you in the feel for what he's all about. So he says gamification is the craft of deriving all the fun and all the addicting elements found in games and game design, and applying them to real world or productive activities. This is what I call human focused design, as opposed to function focused design. It's a design process that optimizes for the human in the system, as opposed to pure efficiency of the system. Thank you, Yukai. I love that. And that is kind of how I feel about business and marketing. It's all human and heart-centered, in my opinion. And we have to understand people in order to relate and communicate with people. So I find these principles to be very intriguing. So what are the principles behind the Octalysis framework? Well, they are epic, meaning and calling, development and accomplishment, empowerment of creativity and feedback, ownership and possession, social influence and relatedness, scarcity and impatience, unpredictability and curiosity, and loss and avoidance. But let's understand how and why you might want to incorporate these core drives into design and experiences. How you can use the Octalysis principle to aim to create more engaging and more motivating experiences that tap into, hopefully, intrinsic human motivations. So we can talk more about intrinsic and extrinsic motivations within each of these core drives. But for now, let's go through and see what each of the core drives are and kind of what they mean. Just an overview of what they mean. So the first core drive is epic, meaning and calling, and it's at the very top of the Octalysis framework. And it's kind of the number one core drive that Yukai identifies. And why do you think this is? Well, epic, meaning and calling, I think, is probably the hardest core motivational drive that there is. So this drive centers around a sense of purpose and the feeling that one's actions contribute to something greater. So people are motivated when they believe that their efforts align with something bigger than themselves, a more meaningful cause, you might say. Also, it transcends the self. So it's more than the self. And it gives them a sense of, meaning and significance by pursuing this greater cause or purpose. So meaning and calling is huge. People want to do something outside of themselves, something bigger than themselves. And the value is really intrinsic. It's inside themselves that they will feel good in doing this. So epic, meaning and calling is a very hardcore drive in most people. The second one is development and accomplishment, which revolves around making progress, achieving mastery, and your desire for personal growth and achievement. But further, it's progress and achievement that do drive us. So when you're leveling up, you're mastering a skill, you're completing tasks, the drive fuels your desire for growth and accomplishment. And so when you have development and accomplishment, that is something that feels good to human beings. The third one is empowerment of creativity and feedback. And this means that we thrive by expressing creativity and by receiving feedback, so that if we're in it with someone else where there's a back and forth, that also helps to empower our creativity and motivate us. This drive, of course, encourages participation, innovation, and the joy of creating. The joy of creating. Also, it relates to the human desire for creating something new and expressing yourself, and getting that feedback helps to give recognition to your creations and make them feel more meaningful. So that is the third, and I think one of the most effective core drives to embrace for people. The fourth one is ownership and possession, which has to do with the human desire to own, to control, and have the accumulation of valuable resources. And this could be even if it's virtual goods. We want to own all the stuff. So ownership and possession also can be virtual achievements. It can also be real world possessions. And it does drive an influence in our behavior. So if we have that motivational drive for ownership and possession, it will motivate behaviors in order to achieve those things. The next one is social influence and relatedness. And this is kind of mixing up 3 and 4 in a way, because it has to do with getting that validation from others and having those social interactions, and kind of having some status and belonging. And this drives our engagement with other people and in a community. Then there is scarcity and impatience, which makes something a limited commodity. So the availability or the time pressure of it intensifies the motivation to do it or to have it. So if there's scarcity, that creates urgency, and impatience for that also might be a way that it works to push us to act. Now, there's scarcity and perceived scarcity. So often in gamification and design technique, we want to make a perceived scarcity to create that action. It may not be as much of a real scarcity as it is a perceived scarcity, so that we show that we create a sense of urgency for the FOMO, for the fear of missing out, or for limited opportunities, or for resources that may go away. So scarcity and impatience to get something or to not miss out on something will drive human behavior. So that's another one that we talk about in the 8. And then we can look at number 7, which is unpredictability and curiosity. That mystery and that surprise will always captivate us as humans. We have curiosity. We want to know. Our need and desire to know keeps us engaged. It doesn't matter whether it's real life, or whether it's games. If we have that curiosity and that desire to know something, we have that motivation to move forward to find out. So that novelty might be part of this, something that's novel, something that's surprising, something that you don't expect, also fosters curiosity, which fosters engagement. So that's unpredictability and curiosity. And we can also talk about that one in terms of intrinsic and extrinsic, because that one can work both ways. In fact, the last 5 or the last 4, social influence, scarcity and impatience, unpredictability and curiosity, and finally number 8, loss and avoidance, are often looked at from extrinsic value to people rather than strictly intrinsic. And that can also make them be turned into black hat versus white hat design. So we want to watch for that. Black hat design isn't always a bad design, because creating urgency or making something happen for a reason is something that helps us modify our behavior, for example. And this drive is rooted in our human aversion to losing what we already have. So We might do something to keep up our credentials in a topic. We might do something that we don't really want to do anymore, but we won't quit because we have so much invested in it. It's like we're stuck in there, often referred to as sunken cost, meaning you're so already into it that you can't pull out. And you guys know this happens when you have set up things in different apps and maybe something new or better comes along, but you're really reluctant to switch. Also, this can be based on a motivation to avoid a potential loss or a negative outcome. So again, this can be looked at from both a white and black hat perspective, or again, intrinsic and extrinsic values to people. So avoiding negative consequences it motivates us to stay engaged. One example would be if you ever played one of those games for like baking or building crops or something like that, and if you didn't tend to them in time, they would go bad. They'd be no good. So people were staying up all night to check on their bakery so that their cakes didn't turn into rot because they had to sleep. If you'd like to know more about these 8 core drives and how you can incorporate them into things like your onboarding, your corporate training, your instructional design or learning models, gamification, and core drives, and how you can map those into the design, let me know, because I'll be glad to talk more about what I'm learning with Yukai Chou and the Octalysis Principle. There are so many cool things that you can do when you think about gamification and game design to engage, enlighten, excite, and add a desire to participate by those people involved with what you produce. And I hope to be able to really transform and transcend learning and other things by experiencifying, so to speak, using Octalysis in gamification, game design, and user experience, user design, UX design. All these things impact how people can interact with you and if they will be willing to keep going. And you want them to keep going and you want them to be getting something out of it, but also being motivated to continue and to provide really valuable stuff so that not only are they anxious to come back, but they're learning and gaining stuff for their own self, for their own business, for their own use. So when you provide game design that allows users to participate and create things for their self, for their own business, while they're involved in your learning design, I feel like that's a huge factor. That's why I also want to do things like my group where I can have conversations and feedback and discussion with some of you. So make sure you join Buy Me a Coffee inside the Marketing Mirror and get some exclusive conversations and content on these and other topics. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you being here. I'm Sue-Ann with the Marketing Mirror, because everything you do reflects your business and brand. And certainly the way that you engage with people, the way that you write to people, the way that you set up your user experience and design, the way that you make your social media a two-way conversation, how you appear on video or in audio or in writing, how you appear in the world is how people will view you. So understanding what is important to them is going to make you more relatable. So that's why I think Yukai's lessons are super important with the Octalysis framework. Anyway, thank you for listening and checking out the Marketing Mirror. Let me know what you think of the Octalysis framework and Yukai's core drives and how important they are to motivate humans to take action. If you can understand and see how they could fit in and where you are experiencing them. If you're interested, let me know in the comments. Check out the links in the comments for Yukai's Octalysis Prime, which is his private membership, where he offers a lot of things to learn inside of his gamified Octalysis Prime Island.